Hey, it's John, and thank you for checking out my YouTube page. On this special edition of Let's Talk Live from Facebook Live, we deal with Omarosa's book, Unhinged, or as I like to call it, Unhinged. I read from the book, we discuss the book, and we talk about some of the juicy details inside. Plus, we have a real interactive conversation about Omarosa and her White House tapes. Listen, it's a Let's Talk Live you don't want to miss, so join Let's Talk Live, already in progress, and if you haven't, subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this video on your social media. Look, we're gonna have fun tonight, so welcome everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Live. That's right, tell the folks we here, hit the share button. Y'all know how we do. If it's your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, I'm going to keep reminding you guys, I'll say it a few times throughout tonight's broadcast. If you have not, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Jawn Murray. For somebody who just straggled in here and doesn't know how my name is spelled, it's JAWN MURRAY. So please go over to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you have not, because, you know, Let's Talk Live is going to probably be moving to YouTube very soon. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed. And also make sure you subscribe to my Instagram page. Follow me at Instagram. My full name, Jawn Murray, JAWN MURRAY. I post photos and videos there that you don't always see in other places. So I appreciate everybody hanging out with me tonight. I know I'm late. I'm not going to hold you long. We're going to have some fun to get to some things. So let's talk a little bit about this whole Omarosa Unhinged situation before I get into the book really heavy. Yes, Omarosa has dominated the news hit. Listen, when this package came in the mail, I was so excited. I was so excited to get this package in the mail because, I've been looking for this book. It came yesterday. Those who follow me on Instagram and Twitter know that I was excited to get this in the mail, Unhinged. It is a book. It's 334 pages. I'm excited to get into it. For everybody who watched me on HLN yesterday, when I was on with Carol Costello talking about Omarosa, I appreciate you watching the tweets, the texts, the Facebook messages. Thank you so much. Here's the thing. I'm gonna, and if you have not watched, the clip is on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jawn Murray, JAWN MURRAY, and it's also on my Facebook timeline, so you don't have to go far to watch it. But it deals with a little bit of the backstory. I'm not gonna go into that today because I really want to have more fun with this situation. But many of you know that, like, I met Omarosa in 2004. We were friends, and her going to work for the Trump administration caused a strain in our relationship. Our friendship took a hit because of it. We are still in touch. We're not where we were, but I kind of have the Issa Rae approach to this situation. You know how Issa Rae was at one of the award shows, and they said, "Well, who are you rooting for tonight?" And Issa Rae said, "I'm rooting for all the black people." Well, I'm rooting for anybody that turns on Trump. If you flip on Trump, if you are helping us get one step closer to bringing down this corrupt, deceptive, racist, bigoted man, I am rooting for you. And so because of that, I don't care what anybody thinks of Omarosa. This has nothing to do with her once being one of my closest friends. This has everything to do with the fact that not only does she have a real story to tell, but unlike a lot of people, she can substantiate these stories with tapes. Somebody turn to your neighbor and say tapes. And so I don't care how many of the news anchors say she has credibility issues. I don't care that black people voted her out of the cookout a few years ago. I don't care what you thought of her up until she was fired in December. What I know for sure is she got tapes. The millennials call them receipts. The streets call them receipts. And these receipts, these tapes, this information that she has could be detrimental to this administration. She could be this administration's deep throat. I said it on HLN, I'll say it again. And for those ignorant people who did not study in history class, deep throat is not a sexual reference. It is a reference to the Nixon administration and Watergate and things that have happened there. Do yourself a favor and use your Google apparatus. Y'all know I like to talk about that Google apparatus. And Google deep throat and Nixon. You want to Google it together because you might get that other stuff that your mind took you to otherwise. But, you know, and here's the thing. When Trump got in the White House, he said, I want to drain the swamp. And clearly, his idea of draining the swamp was creating a snake pit. And the snake pit became a reality show in Washington, D.C. It became Survivor, Snake Pit Edition. And his poisonous politics is all about who can survive this White House, this administration, and get out alive. And not only did Omarosa get out alive, but she was able to out-Trump Trump at his own game, and she might just be one of the major things, one of the factors that brings him down. Well, why do you think he might bring her down, John? Well, great question you ask yourself. Well, the answer to that question is because I do know she's met with the FBI. I do know she's been in touch with Robert Mueller's office, and she might be meeting with them again if asked. And I do know the FBI has a copy of her tapes, and there's some things on that tape, on the tapes, plural, that could really be detrimental to this administration. So, and here's the other thing. There's a gross double standard that's happening right now in the media. You know, when Michael Cohen flipped on Donald Trump, people said, oh, you know, he was Donald Trump's fixer. He was awful to people. He was terrible. But, you know, he's flipped on Donald Trump now because he wants to protect his family. He wants to be there for his family. Omarosa flips on Donald Trump and has all types of tapes, receipts, and evidence, and they're like, well, she has credibility issues. I mean, yeah, she got tapes, but she got credibility issues. Double standard. We can't cheer for the white man who flipped on Donald Trump and completely denounced the black woman, no matter what we thought of her. Like, they're equally yoked. They both worked for Trump. They both were loyal to a fault, and they both now have the potential to negatively impact him and bring his administration to its necessary close. So one of the things that I pointed out on HLN that I want to emphasize before I get into the book tonight is that Gallery Books, which is the division of Simon & Schuster, which is owned by CBS, has put out a statement saying that this book was able to clear their legal department. This book you know, was able to be vetted, and I spoke to somebody close to the company that said, in its original form, 99% of this book checked out through legal. Only 2 things were removed. So that says a lot about how the tapes and her evidence was able to validate a lot of the claims and stuff she had in this book. And just so, because I know a lot of you guys don't watch the news and all you do is go on gossip blogs and entertainment sites and stuff like that. Omarosa did not break the law by recording in the White House or getting any of these tapes. Omarosa cannot be prosecuted for these tapes. DC is a one-party consent state. While what she did may be a national security risk, and it may have violated protocols, no laws were broken here. And so she did not sign a non-disclosure to work in the White House. She did sign one for the campaign. They are trying to find a way to sue her for that, but most of the legal experts that have been on television said they really don't have a leg to stand on here. And the only thing the White House could potentially try to do to maybe keep her from releasing more tapes is to try to find a way to classify what she recorded in the White House. So that's the meat and the news of this situation. And look, who knows what the outcome of all of this would be? I mean, Spike Lee just did a movie on a black man who was able to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan, and I know he hates Omarosa, and he's been a nemesis of hers since the Trump campaign. But maybe, oh maybe, Spike Lee will be doing a movie about Omarosa at some point, because Omarosa infiltrating the Trump administration is very similar to a black man infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan. So, we're going to read into this book. I want to tell y'all about something. I decided not to read the book prior to getting on Facebook Live with you guys. I kind of wanted to start with you guys, just read some random passages. But there's one point in the book that I'd like to make out before I even get into the book. It's starting to populate and make some news stories today. One of the people that Omarosa deals with in the book is somebody who I am not a fan of, because I feel that this woman has exploited black churchgoers and congregants and parishioners and people who are looking, just for a faith moment. And that is the exploitative Pastor Paula White. And I'm not a fan of Pastor Paula White. Paula White did an NBC News interview a few years ago, and she was asked on camera if she had any regrets about telling her parishioners if they gave her money, God would bless her. And her answer to that question was, there are things that I did in my 20s, in my 30s, and in my 40s as a preacher that I wouldn't do now that I'm 50. So this woman basically admitted on camera in an NBC News interview that I've at least posted on social media 5 or 6 times, that 3 decades of her preaching career was a fraud. And so in her book, Unhinged, Omarosa writes that Trump may have received personal counseling from Reverend Paula White, the pastor of New Destiny Church, a non-denominational megachurch in Opeka, Florida. But White had blocked her from the job of choice at the White House, which was head of the Office of Public Liaison. She was warned by a Trump family member to back off on account of Trump and White enjoying a special relationship. I'm going to read that one more time. Omarosa was warned by a Trump family member to back off of pushing back against Pastor Paula White for the position that Omarosa really wanted, because her and Trump enjoyed a special relationship. Not content to let the story end there, Omarosa asked whether White's position as Trump's spiritual advisor had ever been missionary. Not content to leave the story there, Omarosa asked whether White's position as Trump's spiritual advisor had ever been missionary. So, Omarosa writes in this book something that people have been speculating a long time. That Pastor Paula White, according to Trump family members, told Omarosa that Paula White and Trump had a special relationship. I was told, after learning that this piece was in the book, that about a year ago, Paula White's second husband, because she's on her 3rd marriage, had posted a message on Instagram, also implying that, or saying that Paula White and Donald Trump were an item or were having an affair. If anybody can provide a screenshot of that, I would love for you to post it on my timeline. I would love to see what her ex-husband Randy White has to say about that. I was told he took it down because his church members did not want it to stay up. But something that I had long suspected, Omarosa writes in this book, Donald Trump and Paula White have a special relationship according to the kids, and she wanted to know if Paula White's position with Trump had ever been missionary. Somebody say there's a laying of the hands. You know, Paula White is not averse to an affair. She was in a National Enquirer cover story for having an affair with the renowned televangelist Benny Hinn. He ultimately had to apologize for the affair, and I think him and his wife reconciled. But yes, before we even opened the pages of the book, I needed to deal with that passage, because you know, there's a reason that Paula White keeps inviting black preachers to the White House. There's a reason that Paula White has compromised her entire preaching career exploiting black people for her own financial gain and sold her soul to go work with this devil. There's a reason why Paula White is a part of this administration. And apparently her special relationship, according to Omarosa, is part of that reason. So, Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House by Omarosa Manigault Newman, Gallery Books, a division of Simon & Schuster. And the prologue reads, "The staff works for me, not the president. On Tuesday, December the 12th, 2017, I was sitting at my desk in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, which they nicknamed EEOB, in the White House complex when my assistant, Alexa Pursley, walked in looking perplexed. I just got an email for General Kelly's executive assistant," she said. "He wants to meet you in the Situation Room at 5. "Really?" I said. Ever since General Kelly had become chief of staff at the end of July, replacing Reince Priebus, he barely had 2 minutes for me. And now, suddenly, he wanted a meeting? It was highly unusual to be called to the Situation Room in the West Wing, where former President Barack Obama plotted a strategy to kill Osama bin Laden, where President Donald Trump planned the attack on Syria to retaliate for their use of chemical weapons, where every president since John F. Kennedy had top secret conversations with world leaders. Why didn't Kelly want to meet in his office? At the appropriate time, Alexa and I walked over to the Situation Room. We sat down at the large boardroom table. Next to arrive were several White House lawyers, including Utam Dillon, Deputy Counsel to the President, and Stephen Pasantino, Deputy White House Counsel in charge of compliance and ethics. Finally, General Kelly walked in. A brusque man, Kelly looked at Alexa and said, "Who are you?" She said, "Omarosa's assistant." He said, "Could you leave us alone?" Alexa gathered her things and left. General Kelly sat down and said, "We're going to talk to you about leaving the White House. It's come to my attention that there have been significant integrity issues with you. The integrity issues are very serious. If this were the military, this would be a pretty high level of accountability, meaning a court-martial. We're not suggesting any legal action here. It's a pretty serious offense. I'd like to see this be a friendly departure. There are pretty significant legal issues that we hope won't make it ugly for you. If we make this a friendly departure, you can look at your time here in the White House as a year of service to the nation. You can go on without any type of difficulty in future relative to your reputation. It's very important that you understand there are serious legal issues that you violated and that you open up some legal action that we hope we can control. I asked whether the president was aware of this. This was a non-negotiable discussion," he said. So this is part of the audio that you've been seeing on the news, that Omarosa has played the tape and released the tape about, and it's General Kelly firing her. I love that Omarosa has mentioned that President Barack Obama and all the great presidents before the one that's there now used to use the Situation Room for real White House business, because clearly this was not. And I'm going to advance in the reading. The first time I heard about the NWord tape was during the campaign. The day after the infamous Access Hollywood tape came out, a former Apprentice producer named Bill Pruitt sent a tantalizing tweet that there were far worse tapes of Donald Trump captured on set in October of 2017. Pruitt told NPR the tapes contained unfathomable, despicable words about African Americans. At the time, Pruitt had reached out to several people in Trump world, including Lynn Patton, Eric Trump's longtime personal assistant who was running HUD's programs in New York and New Jersey, to try to raise awareness about this tape. Jason Miller, the campaign's communications director, had also received a heads up that there was an NWord tape that was about to drop. On a four-way conference call with Jason Lynn and spokesperson Katrina Pearson and myself, we discussed whether it was possible Trump had really said those things, and if so, how would it be handled? But the tape never came out. I had to assume something or someone stopped it from happening. We got through the election and hadn't heard a peep about it again. So I don't know if you've been following Omarosa's media trail in regards to the Unhinged book, but one of the bombshells that she dropped today was about this tape. See, she had talked about the N-Word tape and the discussion about it, and Katrina Pearson had pushed back and said Omarosa was a liar. So today she released the audio where you hear them talking about it, and the women on the tape happen to say that they believe that he said it, and we're making excuses about it. So now they've got some explaining to do. Let's see what else is in this book. Let's jump around a little bit, because a lot of what's in the prologue sets us up for what's on the what we've been seeing in the news. Let's see, the introduction paragraph. Let's delve into this a little bit. Loyalty over logic. Since driving out the gates of the West Executive Wing on that night of my separation from the White House, I've had a lot of time of reflection. The months that followed were very emotional and exhausting, but cathartic. In hindsight, I can see there were so many times I could have and perhaps should have left Trump world. But at every single juncture, I stayed. Many have wondered why I stood up for President Trump for nearly 15 years. The simple answer to this complex question is, I stayed because of loyalty. Loyalty is a loaded topic when it comes to Donald Trump. His mob-like loyalty requirements are exacting, imperishable, and sometimes unethical, as in James Comey's case. But for the people in Trump world, loyalty to him is an absolute and unyielding necessity, akin to followers' devotion to a cult leader. My membership at Trump World began when I was in my 20s in 2003. He was one of the most famous men in America, a businessman that I admired and wanted to emulate. I grew up poor and on public assistance, and I looked to affluent figures like him. I desired to experience his extraordinary success for myself, to have a life of wealth and luxury. Donald Trump was uncannily intuitive and extremely perceptive. He seemed to be able to sense that certain individuals were susceptible to being influenced by his power and abiding by his loyalty demands, and was seen later with people like his longtime lawyer, Michael Cohen, the first campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, and Hope Hicks. His demands increased over time, and as did his loyalty of his followers. Even if people are banished from Trump world, it's usually only temporary. No one can ever leave for good. As soon as you get out, they reel you back in. Like ousted advisor Steve Bannon, now back in an unofficial capacity, fired campaign manager Lewandowski, now working at Mike Pence's PAC, Political Action Committee, and personal aide John McEntee, now on the Trump re-election campaign. Just a few days after my departure from the White House, I received a call from Eric Trump and his wife Lara Trump. It's L-A-R-A. I think that's Lara, like Lara Spencer on Good Morning America. They were calling me together from Mar-a-Lago to check on me. Lara said, "You know how much we love you, how much DTJ loves you." The first thing he said to me on Thursday night was, "Where is Omarosa? Is she okay? He wants to make sure you're okay and taken care of. I would love to have you on board for the campaign." Now, she was calling on behalf of the president to offer me a senior position on his 2020 re-election campaign. I expressed my gratitude to Lara and asked her to send the details of the offer in an email, which I received soon after. I called to share the news with my husband, who expressed incredulity. Treating someone with love and kindness after abuse is a classic cult tactic. I felt myself being manipulated, but refused to allow that to happen. Before ending the call, Lara mentioned a recent article about my departure in the New York Times by Katie Rogers and Maggie Haberman, where she reported, Miss Newman said on Good Morning America, rewind that. Miss Newman said in a Good Morning America interview, "I have seen things that have made me uncomfortable, that have upset me, and that have affected me deeply and emotionally, and that have affected my community and my people. It is a profound story that I know the world will want to hear. That's the episode of Good Morning America where Robin Roberts said, "Bye, Felicia." Miss Newman had been trying to raise grave concerns about an issue that would affect the president in a big way. Former and current White House officials said they were uncertain what she was referring to. The woman who cultivated a reputation as the ultimate TV villain is urging viewers to stay tuned to find out why she left. Lara continued, "That's something you can't tell people about," she said. "If you come on board, we can't have you mention that stuff." In that moment, I believe she was referring most specifically to the Apprentice era NWord tape. Or was it the nearly 15 years of Trump world insider information I was privy to? I turned down the president's offer to work for his 2020 campaign. In my response declining the position, I explained I was not interested in working for his campaign, his company, his family, for him directly in any capacity. My break from Donald Trump was not just a matter of resentment over how my separation was mishandled by John Kelly and the team of lawyers who locked me in the Situation Room that night. The change in my mind and heart was due to a combination of factors, but mainly my growing realization that Donald Trump was indeed a racist, a bigot, and a misogynist. My certainty about the NWord tape and its frequent uses that the word were of top high mountain. Okay, let's rewind this line. My certainty about the NWord tape and his frequent uses of that word were the top of a high mountain of truly appalling things I experienced with him during the last 2 years in particular. It had finally sunk in that the person I thought I'd known so well for as long as I did was actually racist. Using the N-word was not just the way he talks, but more disturbing, it is how he thought of me and African Americans as a whole. Now, can I tell you something here? While I'm excited about this book, while I'm going to read this book, and I'm more excited about the Omarosa tapes and the impact it could have on Trump, revealing that Donald Trump is a racist is like saying water is wet. Revealing Donald Trump is a racist is like saying fire is hot. Revealing that Donald Trump is a racist is like saying Santa Claus ain't real. Sorry for any parents that are watching with your children. I mean, revealing Donald Trump as a racist is like saying Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a liar. Some things in life we just know. Regardless, there are some salacious stories in this book. Gallery Books says they've been able to validate most of this stuff. I don't care what anybody says about her credibility issues. All I know is people lie, tapes don't lie. And these tapes are bad. These tapes are incriminating, and I want more. Donald Trump called Omarosa a dog today on social media. Michael Eric Dyson was on CNN, and he was talking about the severity of that language, because he said that, that is the type of language that was used during the Jim Crow era. That's the type of language that the Ku Klux Klan used to describe black people. That even though Donald Trump has called other people a dog in his past, that there's something about that description of black people that really has racial undertones. And here's the thing. Donald Trump has said, as I said on CNN and CNN International this weekend, he has made racist and racially insensitive remarks about LeBron James, Don Lemon, April Ryan, NFL players that are kneeling, just so many things, so many people, Maxine Waters, Frederica Wilson, you name it, he's been racist about it. And so, there's no revelation to me in that Donald Trump is a racist. But for me, I'm more concerned about the sanctity of the office of the president. It was once a prestigious thing that, people could only dream to have accomplished. There were lots of folks like me who cried when this man was elected as the first black man, African-American man, not a Kenyan Muslim, as Trump liked to perpetuate during his whole birther campaign. We cried when Barack Obama was elected president of the United States because it was the unthinkable. It was the hope and the dream that we were told that we would never accomplish. And so I do believe that a lot of what's happening in this country, a lot of the climate that we are facing with neo-Nazis and Ku Klux Klan members and these alt-right racist bigots being able to march in Charlottesville and march in D.C., a lot of this climate, a lot of these people who have come out and supported Donald Trump really feel the way that they do because they were more comfortable with the idea of this man, Barack Obama, being their slave and not the president of the United States. So, again, I wanted to talk a little bit about Unhinged. Wanted to just be clear about where I stood on the book and where I stand with Omarosa. And, you know, I'm no apologist for Omarosa. Omarosa is a big girl. She takes care of herself. She don't need nobody defending her or taking up for her. And anybody who knows me well. And those who have followed me here on my platforms for years know I'm going to make it real plain. I'm going to call it down the middle. I'm going to tell the truth despite relationship. And if for some reason I can't, I'm going to give you a disclaimer so that you know I'm in my feelings like Drake. You know what I'm saying? Again, you know, just to be clear about it, wasn't happy Omarosa went to work for this administration. The only fight we ever had in our friendship, we began being friends in 2004. The only fight we ever had in about 14 years was about her going to work for this administration. It took a serious impact on our relationship, and even though we're in touch now, we're not where we were because of her time with this administration. But I support her, I support this book, and I support the ability that she has to be able to come against the hatred, the bigotry, the manipulation, the deception, the collusion, and all the other things that are coming out of this White House. The White House is nervous about this book. They are scared because everybody's wondering what other tape she got and what else could drop next. So those are my feelings. I'm going to answer some questions. And then tonight I'm going to read a little bit more of this book. If for some reason you're just signing on, and you missed the beginning of this, you missed me, you know, dealing with the passage of the book where Omarosa talks about Trump having a special relationship with Paula White, and if her position with Trump had ever been missionary, and that ain't the work going out to Africa helping the little black kids, but the other type of missionary. Go back and hear that. And listen, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Jawn Murray, JAWNMURRAY, and hit subscribe. It's never too late to hit the share button so anybody who's late to this game can know and watch and see what we did. And all right, so let's talk. Let's ask me some questions. I'm gonna try to answer some of them for you. Yeah. Andre Gibson says she must have held her cell phone under the Lincoln bed. I don't know about all of that because the cell phones couldn't be taken into the Situation Room. So we don't know how Omarosa recorded, but we're just glad that she did. Michelle Wood said, do you think Omarosa will switch to the Democratic Party? Omarosa was a registered Democrat before she went to go work for Trump. She actually started out working with the Hillary Clinton campaign, and I actually met some people, and I got involved with working with the Hillary Clinton campaign through her, and then Trump called and paid her to come join his campaign, and that's why she left to go work with him. So Tanya Grizel Stevens said, do you think she planned this? You have to be more specific because I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Bobby Burwell asked, how far do I think the Trump administration will go to silence Omarosa? I don't know. I mean, if I was in her predicament, I mean, I know she has a great lawyer that's on the road with her. I'm hoping she has great security. But I don't trust the Trump administration as far as I can see them. And who knows what he might ask his good bromance brother, Vladimir Putin, to do. Adrian Lionel Champion said, do I think Omarosa should get protection? Oh, when you're in a situation like this, you should unequivocally travel with security. I mean, I know the White House Media Corps now has to travel with bodyguards and security, so clearly Omarosa should have some. Do I think Omarosa purposely infiltrated the White House to bring him down? Based on my relationship with her and some things that I knew about her going into this administration, and even the argument that we had about her going into the administration, no, I don't think that this is anything that she did intentionally at all. I'm not answering Yolanda Fenton Howard's question. Latrice Hughes says, was it LaToya Jackson or the Celebrity Apprentice at the same time she was? If so, they need to find out if she heard the same things. It was, no, Celebrity Apprentice was years after The Apprentice. Omarosa's talking about The Apprentice, the early years, not Celebrity Apprentice, the later years. Michelle wants to know, why is Omarosa's husband silent in all of this? He didn't work for the administration. He doesn't have a relationship with Trump. Why would he have anything to contribute to any of this? Andre Gibson said, Omarosa better employ the fruits of Islam. Ain't a bad idea. Tish Gay says, do I really think this could really bring the cloud down? You know, I'm optimistic. I will say this, if you really understand history, it was a lie that brought Bill Clinton down and got him impeached. I think it was a lie that got Richard Nixon brought down and impeached. So it's never necessarily the big things, even though the big things are how the little things ultimately are effective. So I was rooting that Stormy Daniels was going to do it. So whether it's Stormy Daniels, whether it's Michael Avenatti, or whether it's Omarosa, whoever can do it, come one may. And G. Moore says she don't care how she did it, getting those tapes. I'm just glad she got them. Yeah, you and me both. Nichelle Scott said the grabbed them by the hoo-ha tape. Stormy Daniels, Fire and Fury, botched military action in Yemen. Nothing scratches 45. Not convinced that this will be any different. Oh, you're not an optimist like I am. Okay, some of y'all writing long essays. I like questions. I don't like essays. Why did April Ryan tell her to keep her name out of her mouth? Omarosa made reference to April Ryan on Meet the Press, and she said that John Kelly's office leaked a story about her being fired and thrown out the White House to a black reporter to just have them at odds with each other. But they were already at odds with each other because of some other things that had happened. And you'll just have to Google Omarosa and April Ryan and read their history. Adrian Champion said, I think she had to cover herself in case something went left. She's a very bright woman and played the game like being on The Apprentice. Yeah, I mean, I will say that Omarosa did take her reality TV persona into this White House. And in the end, she may have been fired 3 times for The Apprentice, but this go around, she might be the winner. Valerie LaShawn said, what do I think her next move would be? I don't know. That's a question I don't have an answer to. Tracy Blakemore Claiborne says, as long as Congress is Republican, he won't get impeached. You may not have heard about this thing that's happening in November that everybody's very excited about. It's called the midterm elections. And there's a blue wave happening in this country. And we could very well flip the Congress and make it Democrat. And we stand a strong chance with the Senate as well. So if you go out and vote, you won't have to post messages like that, Tracy Claybrook. What do I think about Pence stepping in if he's brought down? I don't care about Mike Pence. Listen, at this point, this whole process could be long and messy, and as long as we get a good Democratic Congress and Senate that can obstruct everything that Trump does, we don't have to worry about who. Mickey Mouse could be president of the United States. They'll never get nothing passed. And let me be clear about this. Don't care about Michael Pence as president. I want Trump out the White House. Clear? Good. Everybody, let's move on. Michelle Steeler Babe Woods says, as an associate of Omarosa, what do you suggest her next career move would be? You know, I don't know. I don't know that they're doing the type of reality shows that Omarosa used to participate in. I don't believe that any of the cable networks would hire her to be a pundit or anything. The next move thing stumps me. I don't know. I don't know. Y'all got lots of questions. Some of y'all asking the same thing. That's right, Andre Gibson. The chickens are coming home to roost. All right. It's hard to keep up with all these questions. Is Omarosa a lawyer? No, she's not. Anybody want to Unhinged, baby? Listen, I'm gonna do one of these again in September when April Ryan's Under Fire comes out. Somebody said, "What's the topic for tonight?" It's in the daggone caption. Read. Reading is fundamental. Unhinged is out now. I'm gonna be doing this again when April Ryan's Under Fire comes out. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight. I love y'all. And oh, listen, there's a brand new movie coming out. It's coming out August the 24th. I'm going to be posting some additional content about it because I'm headed to Nashville for the movie premiere on Monday. It's called Beautifully Broken. It's a wonderful refugee story, a real-life story based on real people. It's a feel-good story. It's the type of story we need in this crazy environment with Trump and all these hateful people and all the horrible things going on in our country. Beautifully Broken. Go see it. Take friends, take tissues, be inspired. What your takeaway from the film, and I'm not just saying no spoiler or anything, but your takeaway from the film will be that you have to do something to pay it forward. And the struggles that you think that you go through, when you see some of the things that the people in this film overcome and endure, and they're yet pressing on, it'll give you the drive to keep moving forward. More on Beautifully Broken in the days and weeks to come. But Beautifully Broken, keep that on your radar. I'll tell y'all more about it next week. All right, love y'all.